Hello, today I want to show you how to make a LOD model. Now this is building siding add upper 1x1 large roof 02. It's a model in Fallout 4 that does not have an LOD model in the base game. All it is a small piece that is added to a building. Maybe they wanted to give it a little bit extra roof at a particular portion. So this is a fairly easy model with just two materials, and I can give you the gist of it really easy here then. So I import the model in Blender using Pinefly, and it comes out looking like this. We're going to take a look at these UVs, and we're going to see that they're outside of the box. The important thing with UVs for LOD models is they all need to be within 0 to 1 range, which means they have to all fit inside the box. And these ones do not here, and also on the roof, same thing. And we're going to show you how that can be fixed. So the simplest thing to do on this piece here, it's already only two triangles, so you don't really need to reduce it any lower. The easiest thing to do here is you can have two approaches. You can simply just take the UV and shrink it down lower. And that, generally speaking, is all you would need to do. But perhaps you want it to preserve the UV structure so that it's 1-to-1 perfect. So in that case, instead of doing that, what you would do is you would install my WLOD tools, link in the description. And it has these tools that allow you to pack UVs by splitting mesh. And what that does is it simply splits the mesh along the lines and then moves it to be within range. Now, after you do this, naturally these are not necessarily triangles, so you're going to want to triangulate them afterwards. So you can triangulate them, and now you have a few more triangles than you really need. So we can do what I would do here is just a simple quick decimate function, and that will basically remove it to be a very small angle of decimation, and it'll pretty much straighten that out. So now that's 6 triangles, and the UVs are 1-for-1 how they would be. Now obviously that increases the number of triangles, but in this instance that's really a very small amount. Or of course you can just go with the original method and just not worry about having perfect UVs. Alright, now this one, you might say, well, we could follow that same process and go pack UVs, and that will pack everything within range, and then you could do a quick decimate, and you would get this result, which isn't bad, but that's quite a lot of triangles. We don't really need to have that many triangles for this little thing, and so I'm going to say that we probably only really need to have a rectangle there, a rectangle there, a rectangle there, a rectangle here, rectangle here, rectangle here, rectangle here, rectangle here, rectangle here. And I'm going to just invert that selection and delete everything else. And then what I'll do is I'll simply make these all fit. I'm going to quick weld to make sure that these are connected whenever I move them. I'm going to just move the edges over in this case, and you can just use traditional modeling techniques, whatever, to kind of make the model be lower poly. If you have a case like this, you can hide. And you might have to split a vertex here, and adjust the UV to fit how it should be. Is that right? I think so. And hide that. Split that vertex and move it over. Alright, unhide. And we got to move this one up here yet. That looks pretty good. How we got. And that's about the minimal amount that you can get to have 1-to-1 geometry of this. and have everything within proper UV range. Now, this is what you would probably consider a near perfect LOD model of it. 24 triangles. Before, it was more than that. I don't remember exactly how much. So what I would then do is we would go and export this. And, well, actually, before that, let's make sure that these are flagged as BS tri-shapes, because that's what they should be. And also set the LOD material. And what that's simply going to do is, you'll see here, is what it does is it takes the shader name, and instead of materials architecture blah blah blah, it's going to be materials LOD architecture blah blah blah. And if that doesn't, and it also stripped the C projects Fallout 4 nonsense that is on a lot of materials. So you can hit that, and that'll change that over to be the right method. And now you can simply export it. And what you're going to do when you're going to export it is you're going to export it to, I have it set up to go to my FAR object LOD mod, and this is the name of the original mesh. And you're going to untick export vertex colors. You're going to go to the end between the file extension and add a underscore character, LOD underscore 0, and that will be for the LOD4, the first level of detail layer. For this small item, you can probably say you only want to do either an LOD4 or an LOD8, at the most LOD8 typically for something this size. The vanilla game doesn't have an LOD model for this at all, so it is pretty reasonable to only do for the first one. So now we can open up our LOD model here. Now I do have it set up to use an LOD texture right now. That's for my snow mod, and that's why the roof is showing as snow. And if you doing it this method makes it so that when TextGen generates the textures for the materials, it matches the textures for your load order. And this was set up my last time I ran TextGen. It was for my snow mod, and it turns all the roofs to have snow on it, so it has snow on the roof where the roof texture otherwise would be. So that looks pretty good. What you generally want to do is bells, batch, face normals, because that helps clean up, make sure your normals are all good and don't have any weird blacknesses and stuff to them when you tilt them at angles, and that looks pretty good. And if you want to decimate this any further for a LOD4, what you can do is simply, okay, so what kind of triangles can I remove? I'm going to remove these triangles. Remember, we could have split those out farther, and I'm going to say that we're going to put this all the way over here, put this all the way over here, and I'm going to then delete these triangles here. Ta-da! And then I'm also going to say that it doesn't need to have anything on this besides these items. I think that is probably sufficient. Yeah, I think I'll keep this. That should be good enough at the far distance. And we'll call that our LOD2 model. Export that as the LOD2 model. Similarly, uncheck export vertex colors, underscore LOD, underscore 1. Export. And we'll open up that file now. And it's right here. And same thing, take a look at it. And face normal it. And that looks fine. And there you go. Now, one thing to remember here is that this is for base game LOD materials. If you have not already set up the material to exist, that is this material, you will have to make it. In order to do that, you will take a copy of the original material and just make a LOD texture for it, and you're just going to follow this exact same file pattern. So for instance, the InfarObject LOD improvement project, I have done this for a very large amount of the vanilla materials, and you'll see architecture, buildings, roof metal tile. You will see that it will simply be set up to have it point to an LD version of it. Now, if we were to go and pull up the original material, which is materials, architecture, buildings, roof metal tile, right here. Okay, you will see that basically what we've done is we generally get rid of the environment map, because there's no environment map that you're going to be using in LOD. There's just isn't any reason for that. And you'll see here that we've taken off the environment mapping. In this case, I have it flagged as two-sided because sometimes I like flagging things as two-sided in case I want it to show on both sides of the face. And for a lot of LOD, it's a very easy trick to make it so that the triangle count is lower. You want triangle count to be lower because there's only so many triangles that can be combined into a big LOD super mesh before it has to be split. And lower triangle count, the fewer splits, the better the performance. And also less likelihood for the game to crash due to running out of memory when trying to load it. So basically, it's just one-to-one. You're just adding LOD to the beginning of the folder, and then you'll have to provide the LOD texture equivalent, which is basically just a downscaled copy. In this case, it's probably like 64 by 64 pixels instead of 2K texture, or so whatever it was. Sometimes you will find a case where the base material, let's see if I can find one here. It's very common. Okay, here's an example where the base material has the diffuse be like a 3 on the diffuse and a 2 on the normal. You cannot do that for LOD. It has to be following the same texture name as the diffuse, so you would have to make it be 3 normal, 3 specular. Otherwise, it won't be able to find the texture because you're making an atlas and it has to be unique. It cannot share because it's UVing against it as a separate texture. So it has to be the same file scheme as the diffuse. It has to be separate. Because then when we go and make it into an LOD model, here, let me show you one of these. So you see here's a generated LOD super mesh. Now this is for my snow mod, so there's snow on the roofs everywhere. But you'll see that it makes a big super mesh with all of these items, and they're all UV'd against one singular LOD atlas. And this LOD atlas contains everything. So it has to share, it generates a small version onto the LOD atlas, and that's what it maps all the stuff to. That way it eliminates draw calls and combines it into as few of these shapes as possible. And you still see that there are quite a few shapes, even though it's trying to combine as many of these as possible. Now, for FOLIP, we try our best to use TextGen to generate the textures. That way we have as few actual textures included that are not auto-generated. And these use LOD tools. So for instance, this LD architecture res roof metal texture is a no alpha texture for the mod. And we search, if we open this up, and we search for this texture, you'll see a line that's like this. And all it's doing is these are settings that are generally speaking always going to be 0, 1, 1, 1. But it can be different, as you can see here. That's generally if you need to adjust the specular to be less. I do that in some cases. So this is your most typical situation where you take the path to the base texture, and this is going to be 0.5. That means instead of 256 resolution by default, it'll make it 128 resolution. So I was wrong. This is not 64 resolution. This is a 128 resolution. And you can adjust it however you feel the material needs importance. And you just don't want to make it super large. You want to try and keep these as small as possible and still looking good. Because remember, it's just going to be mapped away if it's too far away anyway. And we only have so much space on our LOD Atlas. I already am using an 8K Atlas, which is a very large Atlas. And some people have to use 16K atlases, and those ones are even bigger and not as efficient, shall we say. Okay, I think that about covers that. Remember though, there was that roof material. If you have a roof material, what was that roof material? Yes, it was Roof Slate 03, I think it was. One of those. If you have one that it doesn't match up, TextGen will not be able to find it, in which case you would need to add a copy rule. And a copy rule for, say, the Roof Slate 03, this was that particular one. You'll see that what we do here is you have what the actual texture was, and you copy it to Roof Slate 03N, 02S, 03S. And you'll have a lot of cases like this. And this is a simple thing for TextGen to automate the process of creating the textures. That way, your LOD textures will always match the full model that is installed, whether anybody's using any kind of mod that they are using. Okay, hopefully this helps you to understand how this works a little bit, and you can always ask me in the Discord or elsewhere if you need help. And at any rate, this has been W and signing off.